everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Andrea. It's nice to have you guys here. Today I have a tag video, a book-related tag video. This is the mid-year book Freakout tag. So I saw Shannon from the channel Pages and Polish do this and thought it sounded really fun. I have been reading a lot this year, a lot more than I have in years past. So figured I had a few books I could talk about. And so then I tracked down the original creators and I found the co-creator, Ellie, of Earl Grey Books. And so I watched her video and then really thought, okay, like I really do need to do this. So there's 14 questions. I'm going to have them linked down below along with Shannon's channel and Ellie's channel so you can go check out their videos. Let's get right into it. So I've got them on my laptop right here, but I will have all of the books I've read so far in 2020 listed down below in the description box along with the questions. So, question number 1, best book you've read so far in 2020. Just based on the book that I'm recommending the most to people, it's gotta be Queenie by Candace Carty-Williams. I read that book about a month ago now and just absolutely fell in love with it. It's hard for me to pick a best book. I feel like I want to include all of the books I've read as best book because they're all really good, but I feel like Queenie is the book that I am recommending to like everybody right now. Question number 2, best sequel you've read so far in 2020. I think it was at the very end of last year was when I read book 1 of the Crown Jewels romantic comedy series. So this year I've read book 2 and book 3, and so I'm kind of lumping them both in. So The Royal Wedding and Royal Delivery by Melanie Summers. I definitely was not expecting to love the sequels to the first book as much as I loved the first book, and I loved every book as much, if not better, than the previous book in the trilogy. So if you like a super sexy, bit steamy royal romance, highly recommend those. Question number 3, new release you haven't read yet but want to. I don't really pay attention to new releases because I have such a long list of books that have already been out that I still haven't read yet. 3 books that are on my to be read list right now are The Royal We by Heather Cox and Jessica Morgan, Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert, and Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. So those aren't new books. They've actually been around for a while, but I'm finally going to get to read them. They're kind of at the top of my to be read list. Number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I actually have 2 of these and they're both royal based. So Avon Ellis is putting out book 3 in her Modern Royal series. I fell in love with book 1, snapped up book 2, and she just announced that book 3 is now coming out this summer, so I'm really excited about that. And then as I'm filming this, I just finished reading book 1 of American Royals and absolutely loved that book. And so the sequel to that comes out in September. So I'm really anxious to read that one. I'm sure there's other releases that I would be really excited about, but again, I don't really pay attention to that. So like, I don't really know. I usually will intentionally try to not seek out like what TV shows are coming out, what books are coming out, what films are coming out, because I'd rather not know until like when it's actually out and available, or like at most a week or so ahead of release, because then it's just that countdown. It's just, I get anxious and I just want it out right now. So there probably are a bunch of other books that I would be eagerly waiting for in the second half of the year that I just am intentionally kind of not paying attention to. Question number 5, biggest disappointment. I don't really want to answer this question. And here's why. Number 1, I don't read a whole lot of books that disappoint me. I tend to be very critical about the cover, the title, the tagline, the book description. If I can't gauge from that, I will then read reviews. I'll see what people are talking about. I'll pay attention to what they're actually talking about. I kind of look for details without like looking for spoilers. And there's certain keywords Like, if someone gives it a high review, but they call it a tragic romance, it's an automatic no. It's an automatic hard pass for me. So there's certain keywords that I pay attention to. So I just avoid books if I think I'm not going to like them. The other reason why I don't want to answer this question is because every now and then a book does slip through my filters and I read it and I don't like it. But reading is really subjective. And what I like, someone else might not like. What someone else loves and raves about, I might absolutely hate. So I wouldn't want to put someone else off of reading a book just because I didn't like it. But I also, if you can't see something nice, don't say anything at all. Like, obviously as authors, and I'm lumping myself in this, when we put something out into the world, we have to be prepared for criticism. And I know that, like, even my own book, not everyone likes it, and that's totally fine. But I am just of the personal mind of, I would rather not say anything at all, not rate a book, not review a book, rather than give it a low rating or a bad review. If you don't hear me talking about a book, that is sometimes a sign that I might have read it and just not liked it. You know, there's so many books I could list off the top of my head that I just either read and didn't like, or just I absolutely refused to read them. But I'm not going to shout about that because it just feels rude and it feels unnecessarily mean. Even though I don't know these authors, they don't know me, they're never going to see the reviews that I might post, but it's still, I just have a hard rule about anything I post online. If I wouldn't say it to their face, I shouldn't say it online. And I just don't know that I would be willing to say to someone's face, yeah, I thought your book was crap. So I'd rather just keep that to myself. So yeah, there have been a couple of disappointments this year, but I wouldn't go into it for those reasons. Question number 6, biggest surprise. I'm gonna say Queenie again. It was a book that I'd heard about, and then because of some of the keywords in the description, because of some of the things that I was hearing, I just wasn't sure if it was really what I wanted to read, if it was what I was in the right headspace to read at that time. I had apprehension towards reading it. I ended up managing to get a copy of it through my library on audiobook, and I highly, highly recommend the audiobook version of it. And I now want to buy a copy of the physical book so I can have it in my collection because I just ended up loving it way more. I kind of figured I would at least like it because I knew it was getting really solid reviews. And there wasn't anything I was seeing in the comments that I was stumbling across that made me think I would hate it, just that it might be a bit heavier. I wasn't expecting it to be as funny as it was. For a book that does cover a lot of really dark and difficult topics and themes, there's still a lot of humor in it. So I wasn't expecting to laugh as much as I did, and I wasn't expecting, I knew from the reviews that the writing was good. I wasn't expecting to fall in love with so many of the characters. Like, they just come to life. They leap off the page or out of your earphones if you're listening to the audiobook, but it just felt like it was such a richly detailed, intricately nuanced book in terms of how the plot and the characters were written. And yeah, it surprised me, not because I was surprised it was good, but because I was surprised at how much it just wove its way into my heart and how much I absolutely loved it. Because sometimes there's books that I read that I'm like, this is a good book and people should read this book. This is an important book for whatever reason. I can recognize that, but still not love it. But like Queenie, of all the books I've read so far, of all the books I'm going to read at the end of the year, Queenie is just a lock for like top 10, possibly even top 5 of every book I know I have left to read this year. So yeah, Queenie, I was surprised not at how good it was, but at how much I absolutely loved it. Question number 7, favorite new author, debut or new to you? So I'm pretty sure she's a debut author because, yeah, she doesn't have anything else written, but she was also new to me. I don't know when her book came out. I think it was the later end of last year. But Nicole McCauley, and her book Honeymoon Alone, I fell in love with her writing style as much as I fell in love with the characters and the plot of the book that I was reading, of Honeymoon Alone. Like, Honeymoon Alone is just a really, really cute, fun, fast. It's the kind of book that if you just want to escape for an afternoon, I think I read it in about 5 hours. I just fell in love with everything about the book and about Nicole's writing style. So I was absolutely gutted when I got to the end of the book and realized it was the only book that she'd written so far, and her next book isn't slated until I think 2023. So I've got a bit of a wait. But I absolutely love her writing style, so she automatically kind of jumped onto that list of authors who, anytime something comes out by her, I'm going to read it. Number 8, newest fictional crush. That would be Daniel from Our Stop by Laura Jane Williams. I've got a mad crush on Daniel. I really do. He is the kind of dream guy that you desperately hope is real, and that there are guys out there like him, that he's not just a figment of an author's imagination. But like, if guys like Daniel exist, I don't want to get married until I find one. He's just everything you want. I highly recommend that book. So then question number 9, newest favorite character. This is so hard to pick. Like, there's been a lot of characters, but if I had to pick one, I think just because of things that came up that I really related to, it would be Tabby from the book Black Girls Must Die Exhausted by Jane Allen. I think because Tabby is a woman in her 30s who has been very career focused. She's saving up for a deposit on a house, down payment on a house, and so kind of focused on these goals of career and house and stability that it's kind of come at the expense of a relationship and starting a family. Kind of this quest to be an independent woman and build your own life can sometimes leave other things left undone up to that point. And those are definitely themes, the themes of career and family and motherhood and friendships that come up in that novel were things that I really related to. And so watching Tabby go through a lot of the stuff that I'm kind of thinking of as a woman in my late 30s, almost 40. I really enjoyed kind of watching her go through that process and see where she kind of ended up. And I love any story that's kind of figuring out what you really want and going after it kind of a thing. And so there were definitely elements of that in this book. But yeah, I think Tabby, there's so many characters that I love, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Tabby from Black Girls Must Die Exhausted. Number 10, book that made you cry, The Last Letter from Juliet by Melanie Hudson. So it's a World War II time slip, so it's partially World War II era, partially contemporary times, I think like 2012 or something like that. And any World War II era book, it involves a romance from that time, kind of true love torn apart kind of a thing. Not what I would call a tragic romance, because I don't do those, but yeah, just the last, I think, 10 pages just had me crying, because the main female character from the World War II portion of the book, I just loved her so much, and the conclusion of her story just, yeah, had me sobbing buckets. Number 11, book that made you happy. That would be The Flatshare by Beth O'Leary. I loved it so much. It made me so happy. I was just grinning from ear to ear almost the entire way through the book, even when more serious topics did come up. But yeah, have to mention Flatshare because that book was really, really good. Question number 12, the most beautiful book you've bought this year so far or received. So it's the one physical book I'm going to hold up. All the other books are on my Kindle. But that would be Pretty City London, Discovering London's Beautiful Places, by Siobhan Ferguson. Of all the books I've read, this is the prettiest book that I've read this year, fiction or nonfiction. It's based on an Instagram account, so they've kind of taken that Instagram account and put it into book form. And it's just got all kinds of beautiful pictures from around London and kind of exploring different neighborhoods around London. So love that. I use it as like visual inspiration when I'm writing my own novel. Question number 13, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? That would be a lot. I've got a lot on my list. I've got a very ambitious list in terms of there's kind of the short list of what is actively on my Kindle needing to be read that's kind of queued up. Then I've got a long list of anti-racism, education, kind of learning books, nonfiction books. on a sticky note. That keeps growing exponentially. And then there's so many novels that I know, like, that are in my mind, but I don't have them written down or saved anywhere. I just know I need to read those, preferably by the end of the year. Then there's other books that I know are coming out. So like Courtney Giardina, who's a new author I've recently discovered and connected with on Instagram. She's got both a London-based rom-com coming out in October, I think, and then a Christmas themed book coming out. So I know I'm gonna read both of those. So yeah, there's a lot that I want to read by the end of the year. And then finally, favorite, question 14, favorite book community member. I'm not really that involved in the book community or like booktube here on YouTube. I don't really follow a whole lot of booktubers. I'm starting to follow more, but I don't follow a ton. But I have subscribed to Ellie of Earl Grey Books, the co-creator of this tag, and I'm really enjoying her videos. Shannon, who is how I found out about this tag in the first place, Pages and Polish, has pretty much been the only book community YouTube channel that I've been following kind of from the very early days of being a creator here on YouTube myself. So she's someone who I would say is not just a channel I follow and am friends with via YouTube, but like I consider her a friend offline as well. And then Courtney Giardina, who I just mentioned, she also has a YouTube channel. She posts a lot of stuff related to being a writer and an author, but then she also does a series of videos called Coffee with Court, where she just talks about all kinds of different things. Those have been really fun to watch. And then she also did a video of kind of do writing sprints with her, and that was really fun. I'm really hoping she does more of those. Watching her doing her writing sprints made me want to do mine, so I'm really enjoying her channel a lot. So those are all of the books. I hope you've enjoyed this tag. I hope you've enjoyed learning more about these books. Some of these books are books that I've featured in recent Books I've Read Lately videos. A couple of these books are going to be mentioned in my next Books I've Read Lately video, so if there was anything in here that you haven't heard me talk about, just be patient. It's coming, I promise. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. I would really appreciate that. Say hi in the comments, answer some of these questions, and let me know what some of your favorite books or favorite new authors or whatever so far for 2020 have been. I would love to know those. Again, the questions will all be down in the description box. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.